This is the 2BizChicks podcast. Each week, the hosts, successful CEOs Linda Rawson and Tamara Tran, entertain you with real-life stories that are guaranteed to empower, enrich, and enlighten. The 2BizChicks are both entrepreneurs, authors, and public speakers with many diverse life experiences that bring a powerful message to each episode.
Hi, welcome to the 2BizChicks podcast. I'm Linda Rawson.
My name is Tamara Tran.
Today we have the pleasure of interviewing Rebecca Yates.
Hello.
She is an accomplished woman. She has her own small business, and we'd like you to tell us all about it. Go ahead.
Ooh, which small business? I actually have 5.
Wow.
Little known secret. My first business was a clothing for women with large breasts, actually. We had been watching the Haitian food riots, and my friend and I, she was recently divorced, and we decided that we were whiny in America and we needed to create jobs. So we came up with a business that we could outsource into other countries that really needed to have job growth, and we started a clothing line. I knew nothing about business really, and I just jumped off the cliff. I'd never dealt with a clothing line at all, and from there it gave me the confidence when my day job got unhappy to jump off and start an insurance agency. So, slight history.
That's amazing.
Are all of these businesses still active today? Do you
Yes.
still own them?
I'm actually looking at letting the clothing line go because I'm trying to follow the wise words that I found in the pumpkin plan, which are consolidate. And so I'm thinking of letting the clothing line go now, but I still have a retail insurance brokerage, a wholesale insurance brokerage. I co-wrote a book with Jack Canfield, and so I have a company that holds that. And then I have a short-term vacation rental company that does rentals. Right now we have properties in Arkansas.
That's fantastic. Did you always intend to be an entrepreneur?
So no, I never intended to be an entrepreneur. All of my friends in business classes, because I loved business, but I always wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And my friends would go, I'm going to start a business. And I would say, I don't want to work on weekends. I don't want to work 70 hours a week. I want to climb the corporate ladder and make lots and lots of money and retire and be an archaeologist. And I'm probably the only one of that group that actually did go and start my own businesses. So it was kind of funny.
So it sounds like you're kind of a science geek, a little bit.
I love and have from the time I was tiny, old bones. It sounds strange, but I used to volunteer at the Museum of Natural History, cleaning dinosaur bones and putting them back together because I just think it's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yes, but I like money and I am very fair-skinned, so being out in the dirt, digging all the time probably wasn't a good life choice. So I did business instead.
I've been on a few fossil digs myself. That's pretty fun. I have some friends that own a fossil store in Kemmer, Wyoming.
Fun. They've got some good ones up there.
Yeah. So what are some of the struggles that you've been through as a woman-owned business?
Oh, well, I don't think my struggles were necessarily specific to women-owned businesses, but I got sued about 30 seconds after I started to start my second business, which was super fun. And then I ended up going through some partner separations and had to go through some legal processes that way. And so that was really challenging to start a business, having to deal with litigation. Not what I recommend for anyone, but it taught me a lot of lessons. Always get your contracts cleaned up and signed and right at the beginning.
That's a great piece of advice for sure. I've been in that same situation. Sometimes you can do handshake business and sometimes you can't.
Make good friends with really good lawyers. Another piece of advice.
That's true. I'm curious about your partnership experiences. So many people want to go into business and they're kind of afraid to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And they've heard really bad horror stories about partnerships gone wrong. Do you have any advice for entering into a partnership?
Don't.
Okay.
No, that's not true. My clothing line, I've got a partnership. I actually started that with 2 partners, and they're my mom and my best childhood friend. And that partnership works really great because the roles are really clearly defined. There's a very clear head. So what I learned in my other partnerships is if you have everyone have equal ownership, or it's not a very clearly, like, here's the member that's managing, you end up having problems that you can't resolve. You can't get to a point where you hit a decision and you guys are deadlocked and nobody can override and nobody can drive. And so if you're going to do a partnership, make sure that there's a way to have a tiebreaker, whether that's giving 2% to somebody else that can make it so that it's a little uneven. Just make sure that there's a way to have one person clearly lead it. That's why the first partnership has been successful, is that we came in at the very beginning with, I was going to lead, they were going to design, this one was going to sew patterns. We had very clearly defined roles. The other partnerships that I've been in were less defined, and we ended up having conflict because if we ran into an impasse, there was no way to get around it.
Good advice. Okay, that's good to know. So currently in the businesses that you have, do you have partnerships other than in the first one?
So I have partnerships. Actually, yeah, I do. I have minority partnerships. So I have the majority in all the businesses at this point except the clothing line. And then I have minority ownerships. So some partners in there that have been instrumental in getting me where I needed to go. So, but you have to be selective, very, very careful about who you let into that business.
And by selective, do you mean background checking and credit checking and all of those things, or just sort of finding out if they've got the right experience?
Both, really. We had an experience where we had a partner that came in, and because we're in insurance, we have really strict regulations, and he'd pled guilty to forging life insurance applications, and we didn't know until after we'd entered into the partnership. And it created some major problems. So that was a misstep that I had at the very beginning, was just assuming that because he was an actively licensed agent, he had a clean background, and he didn't. So yes, I definitely agree. Check it, just like if you're dating, because I'm single and I have to deal with dating. I do that with people I date. Like, yeah, background check on everyone, but I didn't do that in my business, and I do now for sure. But also I think it's important to business date. Everyone wants to business get married, but nobody wants to business date. And I think that's a really important piece where you practice a few joint ventures and see kind of where people land, because you don't know until you're in the trenches with it.
True. Excellent advice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm exactly in the middle of one of those right now.
You're a little less stressful, I think.
I'm dating. Business dating. You know, they had a website called Founder, I don't know, Date or something like that. I can't remember what it was called.
Makes sense.
That's too funny.
For businesses to match up?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. How do you, I remember you telling me, so by the way, Rebecca and I are both Goldman Sachs alumni, and I got the opportunity to meet Rebecca and spend some time with her. And I know that you have a teenager and a daughter, a younger daughter. Mm-hmm. And I think they're both girls, right?
Yes.
And so how do you balance your personal life with your professional? How do you handle the guilt of not always being there, or quality versus quantity?
So that's the beauty of being self-employed, right? When I used to work a regular 9-to-5 job, I didn't have a lot of flexibility. So my kids were segmented to being after hours or on weekends. And that led to a lot of guilt. When my younger daughter was born, she has some special needs. And because I was self-employed, I could take time and do her therapies and my therapies and the things that we needed to do to support her during the day. And through that process, I learned that because I can't get a babysitter very easily for a child with special needs, so I can't do things on the weekends that are good to serve my needs, like going out with my friends or playing, I've had to shift those into business hours. And I realized it serves my business to take that time when I need it. And so I do it during business hours. If I need to take a little break and go to a movie, I do. If it's 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm like, you know what, I'm fried today, I need to do a movie. Or if I need to spend a Friday afternoon at a spa, then I do. I've realized that's a valuable part of my business. And so I take care of me during the day. And then that way, when I'm home with my kids, I put my phone down. It irritates some of my clients, but I don't check email, I don't answer the phone, and I try not to answer texts or messages when I'm home. In fact, I'll put my phone in another room so that when I'm there, it's my kids' time.
Good for you. I admire that. I need to be better. Ugh.
It's not easy. There are times when I get a lot of guilt or a lot of shade about the fact that I don't answer my phone on weekends or that I'm not responding to text messages, but you've got to hold those boundaries. The kids are worth it.
Yeah, that is so true. That's great advice. I have a question about your book that you co-wrote.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
It was a couple of years ago, and they just called me and said, would you mind being in this book? And it was called Conversations with Top Achievers. And I have a chapter inside of the book, and I have boxes of them hiding in my storage unit because I've been too embarrassed to tell people it exists.
Really? Why? That's quite an accomplishment.
I don't know. That's something that I haven't quite figured out. But yeah, I have boxes and boxes of it in my storage unit just hanging out because I don't know.
Well, I want you to give me one of those the next time. Since you're going to be moving anyway, then, maybe.
Yeah, I should probably resurrect those suckers and get them out of the boxes. Yeah,
You should.
Yeah, I was really excited about it when it first came out, and then I don't know, developed some kind of weird insecurity and tucked them away.
Wow, I think that's so impressive.
Oh, well, thank you.
You received an award this year, right? What was that?
Yeah, so we were selected for the Mountain West Capital's fastest growing 100 companies in Utah. It's the second year we've received the award. So last year we were ranked number 43, so we were in the top 50. And this year we were ranked number 63. We also received the federal government's highest award, which is their Elite Circle of Champions. Last year we also received the Circle of Champions, which they didn't have a higher tier at that point. And then CMS, who runs all of healthcare.gov, selected 17 brokers across the US, and we were one of them, to participate in an alpha group. So we actually get to fly back to Washington again and tell CMS how we think they should be doing healthcare.gov. So every month we jump on a call with the feds and work on that. So that's a pretty fun, exciting thing too.
That's amazing.
That's really impressive. I'm curious, do you have a background in healthcare or insurance or?
No. So how I ended up in insurance, when I was in college, my boyfriend was working for a farmer's agent, and I helped a little bit working at that farmer's agency, and I hated it. And I never wanted anything to do with insurance because I thought all insurance people were scummy. And I was like, I can't do anything with insurance. And I was working for a company that was selling contracts to the federal government. We actually did Secret Service and FBI. I worked specifically with them on their emergency medical gear. And we did all their cold weather gear for the Olympics. And the company I was working with sold, and they were going to move out of the state. And they wanted me to move as well. And my soon-to-be ex-husband blocked me. There's a little law in Utah that they can block you if they can show it's in the child's best interest. So suddenly I found myself as a single parent with no job, trying to figure out what to do. And I was offered a job in health insurance. And I thought, I can't do this. I don't believe in insurance. I cannot go out and sell something I don't believe in. And at the time, I had taken my ex-husband off my insurance. We weren't technically divorced, right? We'd been separated for 2.5 years, and he rolled his four-wheeler. In the hospital, when I was standing there, my mother-in-law called and said, I don't know if I should even tell you this, but he might die. So you should bring your daughter to the hospital to say goodbye. We don't know what's going to happen. And so I got up to the hospital, and the nurse pulled me aside, and she goes, oh, so you're the wife. And I'm like, not really. We've been separated for 2.5 years. And she goes, well, he doesn't have any assets, and he doesn't have any insurance. And because we live in Utah and you guys are still married, you get to pay the bill. We're at $100,000 so far today. We expect it to be over $1 million. And I just stood there thinking, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. The divorce had already drained me pretty much dry. I didn't see an alternative. And my father-in-law said, hey, let me see what I can do. And he called his health insurance broker. And his health insurance broker, he had a little business, had given them a quote for insurance, and the rates were too high, and so they had not accepted the quote. That was on July 3rd. Okay, their quote was effective July 1st. So he called the insurance broker, and the insurance broker said, if you pay the premiums by July 6th, you have a contract and it will be covered. Blue Cross Blue Shield paid all $1 million, the whole thing. And I thought, okay, now I can sell this. Now I understand how it works, and I understand why it's important, and that not all insurance people are just trying to get out of paying claims. Like, it was such a moment for me to step back and go, okay, this is such a needed service and something that people really need to have, because it would have been very, very bad emotionally, like mentally for me, more so than even the bankruptcy, because it would have been devastating to my mental health to have $1 million bill.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how I ended up in insurance. And that was in 2004, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. It's neat how life throws something at you sometimes and it turns into something wonderful somehow. So
yes, and I love it. I geek out on it. I read the contracts. When they put new bills up, I'm reading them. I really am passionate about it. And I think that's a lot of the reason why. And since then, I've seen so many similar stories where people, would have been completely devastated or couldn't get treatment because they didn't have insurance. And the opposite is true, where I see so many people that do have insurance and they can get the treatments they need. We had a little boy that had to fly to New York just over Christmas to get some cancer treatments that he could not do without insurance. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Wow. I can see why you're passionate about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any promos or giveaways that you want to talk about? Do you have anything coming up you'd like to announce?
Really funny laws in my world, so we have to be careful how we do that. But we are giving away 2 tickets to the Hale Center Theater on our Facebook page right now. So if you go to our Facebook page, there's a status, and just enter it. You like the status, and you get an extra entry if you put in a comment telling us what your favorite show is, because I love theater. Theater makes me really happy.
Do you have any goals for the next coming months? I mean, are you interested in doing something spectacular? Are you taking a big trip?
Yes, I'm actually taking 5 weeks off and going to Europe because my oldest is going to college, and colleges in Europe are less expensive than colleges here. So we're traipsing about Europe with my sister for a minute. As far as business goals, I am working on a scale plan. So one of the situations we've noticed in our industry is the average age of an agent is 62. And with all of the changes in regulations, a lot of these agents are like, I don't want to keep learning the new stuff. So we're seeing a huge exodus of agents. And the ones that are staying really only want to work with large employers. And so the individual market and the small group market, all these small businesses are getting completely neglected, or they're getting assisted by the average agent. The average agent writes 12 policies a year, 12. And then they do something else for their daytime job. And so we're trying to set it up so that we can provide more support to that demographic. So we're building all of our SOPs out and developing a marketing plan to recruit new agents so that we can provide more support, because we're in a situation where we have a lot of demand and we don't have the resources to help everyone at the level that we want to help them. So yeah, it's gonna be busy.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. And where are you going on vacation to?
So
Europe?
we're going to be, she wants to go to the University of Edinburgh, Cambridge, Oxford, Utrecht, Heidelberg, something else. My baby sister lives in Amsterdam, just outside of Amsterdam. So we're going to go see my sister.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Wow, so many things going. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this call, and it's been a pleasure. And I'm so excited for all the things that are happening for you. It's a matter of intention and putting it out there, and good things show up.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.